I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. Greg Lopez is in studio.
Stay tuned. I think Jeff's going to switch parties. I'm just teasing.
Oh, my goodness. Dude,
get
you're
on the
jumping right into it.
Yes, I am.
I'm a Republican to
me.
the core, and I'm like, and how I feel about unaffiliates. So this is going to be a fun conversation.
I always tell my kids, be careful when you engage me sometimes in public because do not underestimate my ability to make things awkward.
Yep, Greg Lopez live in studio. We're going to get to him in just a second. This is a conversation everybody's having in Colorado politics. Greg Lopez, a former Republican, member of Congress, now unaffiliated, running as an independent for governor. Wow. And is this going to mean split tickets? Does this mean he's going to win, pull in the biggest group of independents out there? Are they really independent? Is this a brilliant strategic move? He's done it before. Found his way to Congress through a brilliant strategic move. And I remember that day. I remember that night. He started out down at like 6 on the ballot and throughout the evening rose all the way up, winning and becoming a Republican member of Congress. Is he the smartest guy in the room? We're going to get to all of that and more. Now, though, is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. It is Tuesday, 40 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 55 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, 47, says Republicans will break records in this year's midterms this morning at the GOP retreat.
But even if it's a successful presidency, there's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win.
Well, I hope he is correct and Republicans do well in the midterms. We shall see. Today marks 5 years since the January 6th FBI guided tour of the Capitol. The globalist media will twist and turn it today, but that's what happened. And we saw it. Spooks wearing red hats and camo, masquerading as Trump supporters, opening doors and entrapping hundreds of patriots. Speaking of corruption, 47 responding to questions about more narco terrorists.
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long.
Wow. So is Colombia next as the U.S. tries to fight the corruption surrounding us and hurting us? Yes, Delcy Rodriguez is Venezuela's new president. The former vice president was sworn in Monday after the U.S. captured dictator Maduro to face criminal charges in New York, of course. Rodriguez, an ally of Maduro, condemned the U.S. military action and referred to Maduro and his wife as heroes being held hostage. And once again, she does whatever she is told. Meanwhile, Venezuelans are ecstatic.
I mean, Maduro is a criminal. He's a drug trafficker. We all know it. He's a torturer, just like his evil wife. Why are we here? Why do we even live in this country? Right. We live in this country because of that evil man.
Yeah, that's true. And that's another aspect. A lot of these people want to go back to Venezuela, and this will allow them to do that. Stephen Miller.
And we're not going to let a country fall into the hands of our adversaries. The future of Venezuela, working with America, is going to be so bright and so incredible and so positive, and we'll have a conversation about everything that you raised. But the priority right now, as the president has made clear, is a judicious, thoughtful, careful transition process to secure a great future for Venezuela.
And the left hates that. Susan Kokinda, capturing Maduro is actually attacking our biggest enemy. We don't talk about this. Oligarchs, the globalist criminals who've been working with drug trafficking dictators.
And he's just targeted Canada for good measure. The most ironic part, the enemy understands what Trump is doing better than many of his supposed allies. Sir John Sawers and John Bolton see it. And one of the other superpowers, Russia, has been warning about this for decades. But too many in the MAGA movement are stuck arguing about whether this is another neocon regime change, instead of recognizing that Trump has just launched the biggest offensive against the city of London since maybe the American Revolution.
Possibly. This has to happen to destroy the deep state. And we have to start with these evil people originating from Europe. Friend of the show, Mark Baisley, on with the guys this morning. He's not running for governor anymore. He's going to run for Senate, and he would represent us well. Spread the word. Baisley wants to turn away from the whining we hear from old man Hickenlooper and the radical left, and wants to get government out of our lives.
What really kind of sparked the thought was when I saw my colleague Julie Gonzalez, the most radical state senator in Colorado, challenge Hickenlooper for the primary race. And I thought, wow, he's challengeable. So I talked with some of my Democrat friends, and they said, yeah, we're going to consider Julie. Hickenlooper's not looking all that attractive to us these days, which shocked me, frankly, but it just made me think, well, maybe that's where I ought to go. So after much thought and prayer and conversation with my own staff urged me strongly to make the switch.
All right, so that's what he told Jeff and Billy this morning. Good luck to him. I need Billy on this. There will be less music on Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC's late night talk show will reduce the number of musical guests.
Can't pay the royalty
That's
rights,
right.
huh?
Exactly. So that's money, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because he's so funny he has too much material and there's no time for music.
I don't know. It's one of those things that the musical guest has always been. It's a holdover from the Tonight Show type of era, and Dave Letterman sort of broke some new bands. I always found it to be a nice aspect of the late night shows, because normally you can get some attention to bands that are up and coming that need some extra eyeballs and some extra play. I'm not sure why Kimmel would pull away from this. My guess is I wonder if it's a time thing, that for whatever reason they've sat around and talked about, hey, your interviews and this is so good, we're having to cut down the time of the live act. And maybe they're just like, well, we'll just cut out that 5 or 6 minutes of live act, and we'll just put that into interview time, or more time making jokes about President Trump or crying on camera. One of the two. I mean, one of those things. Possible. I don't know. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jeff. The royalties, maybe, or maybe you got to save more time, allow more time for Michelle Obama. Nuggets over the Sixers, 125-124. I know you live for those, Jeff. Avs in Tampa tonight against the Lightning. And this FCS National Championship game in overtime last night was incredible. Montana State trailing Illinois State 34-28.
Showing pressure on 4th down in overtime. They bring pressure. Lamson throws. End zone. Caught! Touchdown! Taco Dollar!
Man, I hope Taco Dollar gets an opportunity to play in the NFL. I think he could be a playmaker. He's tiny, but he would be great.
I just want to get a jersey that says taco on the back.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all I want. I just want
no
that.
doubt, man. I looked at he was returning punts.
Yeah.
So it's Taco Dollar returning punts, and the punter's name was, it's like these two great names, like Tater Putch or something like that. Tater
wonderful.
Putch to Taco Dollar. Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you hear about the guy whose middle name is ESPN?
No.
Yeah, Espen, yeah.
And he got named it when his wife was asleep and the husband was filling out the birth certificate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know some people in my social circle that have family relatives that the first name is Espen. Kid. Yeah, that's not awkward. Yeah, that's not awkward at all in school.
So did he spell it with an
ESPN?
ESPN?
All caps.
Yeah,
all caps.
ESPN.
ESPN.
Yep. Yeah, that's
and now
how
he's
people
a
I know.
football player. So there you go.
That's funny. I think it would have been cool if they would have spelled it ESPIN and then in lowercase the PIN Espen, and then people don't get it.
So weird.
It is funny. That is funny. 34 in Westminster, 33 in Littleton, 35 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill on Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Other than some windy areas, and there will be plenty of wind along the Front Range and foothills and mountains over the next couple of days, we're going to be looking at mild, dry weather as all the significant weather stays to the north and east of us. Partly cloudy, windy at times, upper 50s and low 60s, low to mid 30s tonight. Mid to upper 50s Wednesday, near 40 Wednesday night. Temperatures will be 50s and 60s Thursday, trending a bit cooler for Friday and into the weekend, but the real cold stays away. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, he's the most talked about guy in all of Colorado politics the last 24, 48 hours. And now he joins us live in studio. Representative Greg Lopez, former Congressman, Congressional District 4, former Mayor of Parker, was running for governor as a Republican, has now changed his voter identification. He's now unaffiliated, running as an independent. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. Pleasure to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. So tell us about the decision, about the announcement, and we'll get into the questions.
Well, look, you know what? I can tell you this. I want everybody to know this. My values have not changed. I am still the person I am. What I've changed is who do I answer to. I no longer need to worry about answering to a Republican establishment. I don't need to worry about where I stand on my issues because now I can actually take my message to the people of Colorado in November and not have to filter it through a primary process. And so I'm really going to reach out like I've always been doing, Jeff, is keeping my hand on the pulse of the people of this great state. I've been out in the Western Plains. I've been in the Eastern Plains. I've been in the urban corridor. And I talk to everyone. And so I'm going to be that governor that wakes up every morning and says, what is in the best interest of all the people of this state? Not one side, not one issue. What is in the best interest of everyone? And my governing philosophy has always been people over politics and do no harm. And I'm going to continue to do that.
Let's talk about the most common critique I've seen online. We're going back to 2010. This is Tom Tancredo frustrated with the Republican Party and Dan Mays. And when that happened, Republicans barely squeaked out 10%. And the vote was split. What's your response to that critique?
You know, I would tell people that, you know what, if people decide, if a party loses, okay, it's because, and if it's because people decided something different, that is not splitting the ticket. That is democracy. And I'm going to be out there with my message. I'm going to be out there with my vision for this state. And if you think about it, Jeff, it's 10 months away. So we all, as candidates, have an opportunity to make sure people clearly understand where we stand on the issues, how we're going to solve these problems. So I would not say that this is splitting any ticket. If anything, this is hurting the Democrat Party because I will take the Hispanic vote. I will take the black vote, and I will take the small business vote because I'm the former director of the United States Small Business Administration. You look at the other candidates from the Democrat side, they don't have a clue as it pertains to what really happens on Main Street. How do you deal with the poor? How do you deal with education? They just don't have that knowledge. So I'm going to hurt the Democrat Party more, and I'm being told right now the Democrat Party is very concerned because they cannot spend $2 million against me in the primary like they did in 2022. Now they got to deal with me in the general.
But isn't it, you talk about unifying, isn't this an example that you can't unify the Republican Party? I mean, you can't unify Republican voters around you. That's going to be somebody else who's going to go through that process, win the primary. So how do you make the argument that you are a unifier by breaking from the Republican Party?
No, you're missing the point. Yeah. Governor unifies the state. It's not about the right side or the left side. It's about unifying the state. And so I'm building a new coalition. I am building a coalition of all types of voters. You don't need to choose necessarily now between one side or the other side. Now I'm able to talk to those people in the middle. And that's what the governor does. He represents everybody, regardless of whether they vote for him or not. That is the true definition of a public servant. I've done that. When I was mayor of Parker, I represented everyone. And that's really what true public servant is all about.
You're going to be, though, in a race against a Republican and a Democrat. Well, let's start. Who do you think it's going to be? I mean, obviously, it's still a long time between now and then, but do you think it's going to be Victor Marks or Barb Kirkmeyer? Do you think it's going to be Michael Bennett or Phil Weiser?
You know,
who do you think it's going to be?
Well, I'll tell you this: my crystal ball is not any better than yours. Yeah. So I'm just going to watch. Right? You develop and see how the candidates are doing. I'm only going to focus on those that win on June 30th because the primary is on June 30th. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see. Every candidate has its strength. Every candidate has its weakness. Everybody needs to understand who it is that you are going up against. And so right now, I'm focusing on the unaffiliated voters. I'm focusing on solving problems. I'll focus on who wins the primaries come June 30th.
I guess, are you expecting to win only with unaffiliated voters, or are you expecting to poll Republicans? And if that's the case, like if you need Republican votes in addition to unaffiliated votes, then you're going to have to make the claim that you are a better candidate than Victor Marks or Barb Kirkmeyer, right?
Well, look, once again, as a governor candidate, you got to look at the entire fabric of this state. So here's how it's going to play out. I'm going to win 45% of the unaffiliated vote. I'm going to win 30% of the Republican vote, and I'm going to win 20% of the Democrat vote.
You think you can win 20% of Democrats?
You betcha. And I know that a lot of guys don't understand that because most Republicans do not go into 5 points. They don't go into federal. You have to remember, Jeff, I'm the former director of the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They're my friends. I've had known them for years. You know, I can give you names. You know Corky Gonzalez? You never heard of the name Corky Gonzalez? Well, Corky Gonzalez was the individual that started the Chicano movement here in Denver. Okay, I know his daughter. She's very good friends with mine. So I know all these people that are movers and shakers in the urban corridor. And they are my friends. They've always told me, Greg, you know what? We'll make you the governor. And they've always told me, you know what? We don't think your party will ever give you the nomination. But if they did, the Democrats are in trouble because we're going to vote for you because we understand who you are. So now I go directly to the general election. We get to see what the voters of Colorado get to decide. And it's really about choice now because you don't have to worry about, am I stuck with something on the D side? Am I stuck with something on the R side? Now they can say, well, maybe there's somebody in the middle.
But your principles aren't in the middle.
No. Here's the difference, right? It's about messaging. See, one of the biggest problems that the Republican Party has is they don't know how to message. They don't know how to talk to the voters. They're so logical in their explanations. It's about the economy. It's all about money. They're not very emotional in connecting with the hearts and souls of the voters. And that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I've always been doing. And so my platform as it pertains to my values and my beliefs are not shifting. I don't discard them just because I have a letter next to my name. That's not who I'm about. You know me for years.
Oh, no. And this is what I wanted, because Billy and I were having this debate prior with callers, Democrats, because you're wearing a lapel pin with two little feet on
That's
it.
Right.
You're one of the most pro-life guys I know. You're committed to the sanctity of life through and through. You will show up. Nobody else is watching. You show up to testify. I've always admired that about you. What independents like Billy and others were saying is that the social issues are killers here in Colorado. That the voters are so committed to progressive views on social issues, whether it's gay marriage, sanctity of life, abortion, all that stuff, drugs, that you basically have to abandon them and only focus in on economic issues if you want to try to win and you're not
right? There's a lot of passion on both sides. Well, someone needs to slow down the passion and say, let's talk. We need to respect each other. That doesn't mean we need to agree with each other, but let's respect each other, because that's really what the people want, is a government that listens and a government that can bring in solutions to their struggles.
Greg Lopez running as an independent now for governor, former Republican congressman. Let's talk about what could happen to the Republican ticket in some of these other races, okay? Because 2010, what should have been a Tea Party wave, not so good in Colorado, in part because the ticket was split up. Tom Tancredo running as a Constitution Party. Then you had Dan Mays as a Republican. Then you had, I think, Ken Buck was running that same era. Is this going to be a problem for other Republicans? For Mark Baisley that wants to run for Senate, for Kevin Grantham that wants to run for state treasurer? Do you see voters going, yes, Greg Lopez for governor, yes, Mark Baisley, yes, Kevin Grantham? Can you support Republicans that are going to be trying to seek control of the state house, for instance?
Well, look, like I said, I have friends on both sides, okay? One of the things I will tell you is that as you look down this path, Jeff, for the last 20 years, the Republicans have been losing statewide offices. Mm-hmm. That was even before right after Tom Tancredo and Dan Mays. Just look at the history, okay? I'm not going to be taking votes away from the Republicans. The votes that are going to come to me are the votes that would never vote for a Republican. I'm going to enhance the turnout of the unaffiliated voters. The energy that I'm starting to feel and the contacts and the calls that I'm getting from people is this. You know what? We don't know you because we really haven't been watching you from an unaffiliated standpoint because we didn't know that there was going to be a candidate like you. But now that we saw that you are unaffiliated and your tagline is people over politics and you're looking to do no harm, and we look at your titles and we look at your background, they're like, this is really somebody that we really need to listen to because he may have the vision and the direction that we want this state to go.
Other folks have run on independent tickets. I want to say totally independent. I mean, are you going to affiliate with like either the American Constitution Party or are you just completely independent? Because that wouldn't. Do you have to be affiliated with some party to be on the ballot?
No.
So completely independent.
Yes.
Okay.
Completely.
Because other people have tried to run outside of the two-party system, whether it's Libertarians, American Constitution. Danielle Neuschwanger tried to do this. There's a Unity Party that ran in 2022. And I'm looking at their numbers. I mean, 1.15% for the Libertarian. Danielle Neuschwanger, 0.86%. You would be a first ever, I think, in Colorado to win unaffiliated. How do you achieve that? Because everybody else that's tried ends up in single digits.
Well, here's the difference. You just said it. Yeah. I'm not connected to a party. I'm not running as a minor party candidate. Yeah. I'm running for the people of Colorado.
So will it say Greg Lopez unaffiliated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you think that that'll work? Because I don't think it was like, because I went to the American Constitution Party, nobody voted for me. I think they stepped outside the two-party system. There was no money, no support, and people just aren't used to it, so they fall into one or two categories. Typically, the Democrats, they go that way anyways. So I guess what's your strategy to combat that when everybody else that's tried to go outside the two-party systems failed?
Well, first, you need to understand, Jeff, I'm not running to divide the state. I'm running to unite the state. Okay, the values that I carry are Colorado values. They're not Democrat values or Republican values. These are Colorado values. But once again, you talk about prior. No other unaffiliated candidate was a former congressman, a former mayor and city manager, the head of the United States Small Business Administration, oversaw the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, sat on the Martin Luther King Awards Committee, has been a member or the director of the Minority Small Business Development, supply chains, corporate America. I am more well-rounded than any other unaffiliated candidate has ever stepped into a race for the governor.
That's Greg Lopez, now unaffiliated candidate for governor, joining Jeff and Bill live, talking about the switch and potential path forward. Okay, Greg, gotta ask you about your messaging and how you are looking to strategically carve off, and we'll just for numbers, we'll just say 25% of potential Democrat voters, 25% of potential Republican voters in that party. Just kind of a universal, just for the conversation. what I've seen in the past is that once you put on that party jersey, once you take a team loyalty, it's very difficult to come outside of that affiliation. So strategically, how do you feel you're going to be able to persuade either Democrats or Republicans that it's okay to take off the jersey and vote for you because they have chosen and ticked that box affirmatively that I am going to join this political party? These are the people that I identify with. These are the people that it may be generations inside of my family, or maybe something I've come to brand new based on things that happened in college or in my new adult life. But I have adopted this identity of being either a Republican or a Democrat. So how strategically do you talk to those voters and persuade them, no, for this election, you got to take off that jersey because it's the best choice?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to ask anybody to take off any jersey. They're going to have to make a decision based on the information that they're given. Guys, you know the numbers. The younger generation is predominantly unaffiliated. They're sick and tired of the parties. They're sick and tired of the bickering. They want someone that they can rely on that's going to govern with a steady hand. Now, I am going to get those Democrats, those blue dog Democrats that understand common sense, that understand what it is that makes their lives better, that economic ladder of small business, that's where they are able to break through the ceiling. I'm going to get the frustrated Republicans, those that are frustrated that they're not being listened to, that the bickering is going on. And then I'm going to get the unaffiliated voters, those voters that feel that we are politically homeless. There is no one out there that shares our vision, that's willing to step forward into the public square and talk about the vision of Colorado that we want to see. So it's going to be one conversation at a time. This is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. This is the hardest path that anybody can take to be the governor of this great state. But I'm willing to take it. And I ask people to think about, I'm not asking you to do it with a partisan label. I'm not asking you to do it with any label. I'm asking you as neighbors and residents of this state, look at where we're going, look at where we've been. Tell me, is your life better? Has it been better over the last 7 years than it used to be? It's time for us to have a new horizon, a new day in this state, and that's what I plan to do as the next governor.
That's Greg Lopez, now an independent, formerly Republican Congress member, and formerly Democrat mayor. So a lot of things going on. Now, he has approached it from all different sides. He's now going to be running as unaffiliated for the governor's mansion. Now, Greg, what I want to ask you are, what have you heard so far with both Democrat and Republican voters as far as what are they upset about? So what I'm saying is, when you're talking to some of those what you call blue dog Democrats, what are the issues inside the Democrat Party that they're mad about? And conversely, when you talk to some of those GOP members that may not be totally MAGA or maybe breaking away from MAGA, what are those issues that they're unhappy with? What we're looking at is, what are the Achilles heels potentially for both parties?
Well, I can tell you, Billy, with the Democrats, it's education. It's the education of their children. The fact that their children are not even proficient at the third grade level, that only 30% of third graders are actually able to read. And like all parents, they're concerned about the future of their children, that they can have a family, that they can have a job. So education is the most important thing in the Democrat Party when it says, here's the struggles. All the affordability, all the be able to pay our food and that type of stuff, that goes over. But the number one issue for the Democrats is education. We need our children to be educated. They want to see charter schools. They want to see choice. They want to have a different option because the educational system today has forgotten their children, and they're not looking at educating them. When it comes to the Republican side, it's more about the congestion. It's about the traffic. It's about how government is reaching into their pockets every single day to be able to pay for programs that really aren't working, programs that are ineffective. And they want to know why in the world is the state under $1.2 billion in debt? Where is that money going? And why is it that we can't seem to balance this budget? These are the two sides that are looking at it. And this is what I'm hearing from both of them, And I am going to address both issues with a steady hand, with a common sense approach. I am never going to be the smartest man in the room, and that's okay by me, because I'm going to surround myself with good people.
That's Greg Lopez. Greg Lopez, now an independent, running for governor, live in studio. Let's talk fundraising. We haven't seen the latest numbers since Marks has gotten in, but Baisley, roughly $35,000 raised. Scott Bottoms, $72,000 raised. The big guys, Michael Bennett, $2.6 million. Phil Weiser, $3.7 million. The biggest so far, at least on the reporting. Bob Kirkmeyer, $188,000. You came in $49,000. Tell me the donor base that you've heard from and how you're going to build big money to compete with the big guys that are already in the multi-millions of dollars.
You know, it's always interesting to me when people talk about politics and elections. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is money. They never talk about messaging. They never talk about the issues. It's always about how much money can you raise. And I'm here to tell you, do you even know, Jeff, how much I spent the last gubernatorial run in the primary? Do you know?
No.
I spent a total of $160,000 and got over 285,000 votes. Money's important, but what's more important to the public is connecting. And I connect with all voters. I will always be outspent. All Republicans will be outspent. I can't think of a single Republican that's going to say, I'm going to outspend the Democrat. And this is what the voters are listening. It's all about the money. No one's talking about them. They first talk about the money, and then those that say they have the money, they don't even know if they're spending it correctly. I will tell you this. Every vote that I got last time cost me 42 cents a vote. It didn't cost me 30 cents a vote or $30 a vote or $15 a vote. I come from humble beginnings. I know how to stretch a dollar. I know the respect of a dollar. I don't waste it. And that's what most people want to see, is a governor that understands fiscal responsibility, understands that you don't spend money because you just want to spend it. You spend it correctly. You spend it wisely, and you spend it effectively. And that's what I'm going to do.
But, I mean, are there donors? Have you heard from donors that are going, yes, now I can give to you because you're not going to be in this super competitive Republican primary where we don't know who's going to pop out and we don't want to have that fight. But, I mean, you got to go get signatures, for instance.
Yeah.
So you going to pay for that?
You know, we're going to do whatever it takes. It's a hybrid, volunteers.
Yeah.
Look, it's not that difficult. Here's the other thing about signatures, right? Every Republican right now that's trying to get onto the ballot, they have to get 1,500 signatures per congressional district. But only Republicans can sign their petition. I only have to get 1,000 signatures. And from Republicans.
Oh, from anybody.
Democrats and unaffiliates, because I don't have a party.
Yeah.
Okay? And I don't go out to gather signatures until May. Everybody else is right now out on the streets trying to get signatures. If my term limit or my term frame is from May to July. So I got plenty of time.
Oh, so you're not even out yet.
Oh, no. I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed.
I'm not allowed.
Do you see anybody else taking this pathway that's in this crowded Republican primary?
Nobody can, because they had to have made the decision on January 2nd. So now they're Republicans. They have to stay in the Republican lane. If you're a Democrat, you will stay in the Democrat lane. I chose lanes before the deadline.
That's Greg Lopez. He's live in studio. Greg, what's your website?
It's greglopez.co.
greglopez.co. greglopez.co. Running as an independent right now for governor. We're going to continue this conversation. Text us if you have a question at 720-819-5115. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call at 303-696-1971. Let's talk advanced terror restoration. How about a simple New Year's resolution, one that even I could achieve? Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You'll feel more confident and more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there's no one I trust more in hair restoration. Their simple FUE treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. Simply put, Advanced Hair's exceptional standard of care makes your comfort and your results their top priority. Celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. Discover what your resolution could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Text messages hot. We'll get to those next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Greg Lopez live in studio. His website, greglopez.co. Big announcement. Probably the most talked about guy in Republican circles right now because he's former Republican congressman, now running as an independent for Colorado governor. What does that all mean? Text message 3377. Nothing is better in Colorado after Democrat one-party rule. Bennett's the epitome of an elitist, non-Colorado snob. Young people are holding them in disdain and may not vote Republican just because there are Republicans. Mr. Lopez had to acknowledge the least of us. Maybe say he would spend a week, month living, or going around to the different counties. I like Victor Marx, but he talks about God a great deal, and unfortunately that may turn some people off. Not me. I would vote for Mr. Lopez. 3377 coming in. Let's talk Wolves. Trump's ready to grab a gun and go shoot him, it looks like.
You know, Jeff, that was an issue that I got involved in. Again, I tell people I'm a problem solver. So I had people come to me and said, Greg, can you help us with this wolf? And I said, I don't know much about it, but let me see what I can do.
It wasn't even your district. You were the 4th congressional district.
Exactly. So, but this happened even after I left Congress. So I got involved this June, up in Glenwood Springs. And I went to a Colorado Parks and Wildlife meeting. From that moment forward, I started to study and I started to realize and talking to producers and looking at things. And I came to the conclusion that, it is not the state of Colorado that determines the future of the wolf. It is the federal government under the Endangered Species Act. And when Governor Polis went to Canada and brought wolves in, he violated the Endangered Species Act. We have 15 illegal wolves here in Colorado, and he violated the permit of the 10J rule. I notified Brian Nesvik. I had notified Matt Hogan about it. This was in September. I gave them 20 days to issue a cease and desist order. Otherwise, I was going to take it up further up the chain because I worked in the federal government before, and I understand the process. The government shut down in September. If you remember, it shut down. On October 10th, Brian Nesvik, the director of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, issued the first letter saying you will not bring wolves in from Canada or Alaska. You will stay within the permit boundaries. And the latest letter, Colorado's been put on notice that within 60 days, if you don't do what we're asking you to do, you no longer will be responsible for the management of the wolf in Colorado. The federal government will. And I'm hearing that they are going to capture the Copper Creek Pack. This is the one that's doing all the depredation and killing all the cows and the sheep. And they're
5 dozen at this point.
Yeah, they're either going to put them in a sanctuary or they're going to deport them back.
Could you imagine being that wolf? You're just constantly getting tranked and having to wake up in different places. Like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, exactly. This is Wolfgate.
And your wolf wife is like, I don't believe you. Shut up. You're out. Don't you doing that. I see that collar.
Yeah.
But I smell the perfume.
Yeah. So, this is Wolfgate. And the next thing, they're about to get a bill from the producers of close to $1 million, if not over $1 million, for all the cattle that they've lost. This is mismanagement.
And this was you. You were the one that figured this out.
Yeah. All the other candidates were doing other stuff. And I can tell you, Governor Polis and his husband are not happy with me. But that's who I am. When people ask me, can I help?
I will testify that. You absolutely do work just to get it done.
Yes.
Appreciate that. That's Greg Lopez. He's running for an independent for governor. GregLopez.co. GregLopez.co. We'll wrap up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. He's probably the most talked about guy in Colorado politics this week. Greg Lopez, former Republican member of Congress, now an unaffiliated, running for governor in the state of Colorado. Who do you think the Democrat nominee is going to be?
Like I told you earlier, my crystal ball is as good as yours.
You don't know. You can't pick. I think Colorado's made up of socialists. And everybody's always like, Jeff is so pessimistic. I'm like, no, I go talk to him. You talk to him. Yep. I talk to him too. I go to the protests though, and maybe that's a specific subset, but they're so progressive that I think they're tired with Bennett. I think Weiser is positioning himself as the anti-Trump guy, and that's where the voters of Colorado are, and that's just what I'm stuck with.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Give me a little optimism here, Lopez, as we wrap up.
As we move forward, look, everybody knows my values. I'm not changing. And ultimately, when you have the decision to make, what is the future of this great state going to look like? You just described one option, right? And there's going to be two other options. And at the end of the day, we need to make Colorado a state that we can all be proud of once again. A state that we can raise our families and have our children be educated and educated well, deal with the traffic, deal with all this nonsense that we've had to deal with for the last 7 years. All we need to do is roll it back. But I will tell everybody, at the end of the day, we must, in some fashion or another, ensure the future of this great state, that we will come back to common sense solutions that do no harm to people. And we must always put people over politics.
That's Greg Lopez. GregLopez.co. Billy, you're an unaffiliated. Does he have your vote?
It's too early in the cycle, but I like what he's saying. No, it's, again, and I don't endorse candidates 9 times out of 10. Because I don't think that's my role. I will talk about issues and things, but I don't endorse candidates. But I like where Greg is going.
Republicans. He's making it hard for me because I'm like, we're friends. We're literally neighbors. I've never not voted for Republicans.
Here's the message that I think Greg can win with, especially to conservative voters. How badly do you want to keep Weiser Bennett out of the governor's mansion? How badly is it to put a conservative in the mansion, even if it doesn't say R by the name?
Listening to Jeff and Bill.
KNUS.